Since the last midterm elections, Latinos have become the fastest growing racial and ethnic group in this country. The latest CBS News Battleground Tracker shows Democrats hold a 48 to 40% lead over Republicans among Hispanic voters when it comes to the House. So with Election Day fast approaching 5 days and counting, we're looking into allegations of false and misleading information that's spreading on some Spanish language media platforms. CBS News correspondent Enrique Acevedo takes us to South Florida, where a radio station is at the heart of this battle.
This is the promised land for the Hispanics, the largest minority in the country. We know the merits of the American system.
Republican Congresswoman Maria Elvira Salazar represents more than 700,000 residents of Miami-Dade County in Congress.
And unfortunately, the Democrats are trying to destroy that platform.
The platform she's talking about is Radio Mambi, an AM radio station based in Miami where Salazar was a frequent guest. Radio Mambi has been a popular source of news for Spanish speakers living in South Florida.
Radio Mambi.
According to Nielsen, 97% of all Latinos nationally use radio on a monthly basis, more than any other ethnic group measured.
Radio Mambi was one of the bastions of free speech, one of the bastions of conservative values and views in this market.
You say was?
Is not going to be anymore.
In June, two former Democratic operatives formed the Latino Media Network and paid $60 million to purchase 18 Spanish-language radio stations in the largest markets in the country, including Radio Mambi in Miami.
This is not a business transaction.
Along with Republican Senators Rick Scott and Marco Rubio, Salazar appealed to the FCC to halt the sale, claiming it would silence conservative voices.
They want to use those 18 radio stations and start peddling socialism to the Hispanics.
Here's the thing. The FCC has a job to determine whether people who apply for licenses would serve the public interest.
Jessica González is an attorney and the CEO of Free Press, a media advocacy organization that supports the purchase.
There's a lack of trusted news and information sources in the Latino community across the board.
González argues that platforms like Radio Mambi have spread disinformation to Latino voters.
People see Latinos as gettable votes. And so there is an effort to win over Latino votes by spreading lies and disinformation.
CBS News has reviewed audio broadcasts of Radio Mambi. Talking about the Capitol riots, one host claims that members of Black Lives Matter and Antifa participated, and that COVID was exaggerated by Democrats. Both claims are false.
These are lies that sow distrust in our electoral process. It could dissuade people from getting out and voting.
Disinformation has had a very direct impact.
Florida International University professor Eduardo Gamarra addressed members of Congress on the effects of misinformation.
The Republicans both study the Latinos, they target them, and at the same time, they construct a message that's extraordinarily effective.
In the last two national elections, more Latinos voted Democrat, but Republicans have been closing that gap. The FCC's regulatory approval on the sale of Radio Mambi is expected to come after the midterms. Until then, the Latino Media Network can't change what the station broadcasts.
Listen, there is no misinformation. People have many sources of info where they can compare.
But we noticed one more false allegation on the Radio Mambi airwaves from last year.
¿Cómo es posible que en Pensilvania hay 200,000 votos más el día de la elección que lo que estaban en los padrones electorales? Eso no es posible.
The voice you're hearing is Representative Maria Elvira Salazar claiming election fraud in Pennsylvania.
And we know that's not true.
Well, you're talking about the election. The election is over.
Salazar wouldn't acknowledge the misinformation.
If the FCC approves the sale, will you continue to go on Radio Mambi and speak to your constituents?
If they invite me, I will be there denouncing whatever thing they're saying.
And Gail, when asked about allegations of disinformation, Radio Mambi declined to comment on that or on the Latino Media Network's purchase of the station. And after canceling our on-camera interview, the new owners of Radio Mambi sent a statement instead, and I'll read that. Quote, "We believe in freedom of expression and a free press which values verifiable facts and balance. All points of view will be welcome and encouraged." You can read the entire statement on cbsnews.com and more on our reporting on how Latinos are being bombarded with this information, not just on traditional media, but also online and through instant messaging apps. Vlad?
Enrique, thank you very much. I mean, this is a fascinating report.
This is a scary report to me.
Well, one of the things that Enrique said, in the last two elections, more Latinos voted Democrat, but Republicans are closing that gap. So what does that tell you? That tells you that it's not enough to just win the demographic that you're going after. Yeah. You've actually got to win. It's about how much you win them by. Yeah. And so that's why they're being targeted.
Yeah, and a lot of people say Florida's not really a swing state anymore. It's trending red, and a big reason for that is because the Republican Party has made advances with the Latino population, particularly Cubans in South Florida, right where Enrique was. Yeah. Listening to those stations.
In his report, he pointed out you can get your information from many sources. You should compare, but most people don't compare.
That's right. Yeah.
They rely on whatever that source is, and that's what they go with. That's why it's so troubling when you're relying on people that are deliberately putting out misleading and misinformation.
And you hope the new owners mean it when they say we're committed to a balanced set of viewpoints and to the facts.
Indeed.
Yeah, but we don't want to talk to you, CBS.
Yeah, but we don't want to trust you. All right.
What a great report, Enrique. Thank you very much, my friend.